What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Mate with Hans Real Estate Podcast. Today's guest is not a real estate agent. Today's guest is not a real estate mortgage broker. Today's guest has over 25 years of experience in the real estate world. He is a top real estate attorney and lawyer in the South Florida market. And then today I'm so excited to interview Michael Tobin. Michael, thank you so much for being here with us today. What is going on? What's up, Michael?
Hey, Hans. All is good. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I love the lead in. I love the energy. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to speak to you. I'm so excited to interview you. I mean, you have so much experience. I mean, over 25 years, Michael, and, specializing in the real estate, field is, I'm sure you have a lot of stories, a lot of, you've gone through everything, I would say, even though, laws change in the real estate market and the world changes. I'm still sure that, you've been through all kinds of different situations. So I'm really excited to interview today so we can, help some agents out, share some tips, share some valuable information. So let's get started, Michael, with, let's get straight to the point. Let's get started with what are the main errors, the main mistakes that you see most real estate agents make, because this causes a lot of issues. So let's get started for those agents that are listening. What is those things that you see?
Okay. I've lectured to a lot of brokers and agents over the years on a variety of little topics or specific topics, but I would say the biggest thing that gets agents in trouble is more of a general thing. And that's the feeling that they need to almost, play or be a quasi-attorney. The contract is a scary contract. The FAR bar as is contract that we all use, that the realtors, the attorneys have worked so hard together to build as a really fair, strong contract. Let's face it, it's 12 pages of legal, of just legalese, tons and tons of topics on a variety of areas of law. Right. And I think sometimes, a really good realtor focuses and is really good at selling real property. I think the thing that can get some agents in trouble is not recognizing which issues are not their responsibility. I think a good agent wants to quarterback, everything and take control and have their finger on everything with good reason. It keeps the deal flowing, right. Closing. But I think I've seen some, agents get in trouble over not knowing, which issues are legal. And then, just a lot of contractual issues where, whether it's contingency deadlines, whether it's title issues, sometimes just not recognizing a problem when you see it, or even an issue, and addressing it early enough. I'd say that would be one of the big general things I see agents get in trouble through.
Right. So pretty much what you're trying to say is a lot of agents, like, they want to take control of the whole situation, of the whole deal. So instead of asking questions, instead of really being clear, they're like, okay, they assume. I guess it comes a lot from assuming. They assume everything is okay. They assume that they're doing the right thing. They assume that since they're involved. And then that ends up, from your experience, that ends up being one of the biggest mistakes that you see agents make.
Yeah, I mean, not really with the experienced agents, but with some of the newer agents,
right.
Something that a buyer may tell them about, personality, or about a mortgage, or about an inspection, not recognizing it may be an issue. Just the biggest thing, that agents, because they cover so much from selling to contract to closing.
Right.
The biggest thing sometimes is just knowing the issues you should address and knowing the ones that other people address. And as long as you know that, and you make sure that everyone does their part, whether it's the lender, whether it's the inspector, whether it's the appraiser, whether it's the attorney, and then the attorney has so many, things, the the title order, the municipal search, the
Right.
survey, the estoppel. There's so many parts to the puzzle that the consumer sometimes
Mm.
doesn't see behind the scenes.
Right.
And a good agent learns over time everything that's involved, but they make sure that the people who need to be doing their thing are doing their thing.
I love that. It's exactly like when I was with you a few days ago, we are speaking about that. Over the years, you've experienced, or you've learned to kind of focus on your specialty. Can't even say that word right now, but like what you focus on, which is real estate law, and kind of let everyone else do their own part, right? So as a real estate agent, we should just focus, what we do best, like you said, selling real estate and letting title company, attorneys, financing, inspectors, everyone else do their thing. If we do come across something that we are not too sure about, of course, the first thing we should do, address it immediately, because usually that's what causes, issues later on down the line. Because in real estate, everything has like timelines, right? And that's really where all these issues come from. So I can really,
And and
really,
you're and you're right. What we were talking about at the closing the other day, the attorneys sometimes can get themselves in the same trouble.
right,
I was telling you when I was a younger attorney, I sometimes wanted to play broker, and you know, I wanted to get into valuation discussions with a client where really that's not my expertise. And so I've stopped, you know, doing the things that the agent does, and it's not just
right,
the agents who stick, the attorneys need to stick to their lane. I need to stick to the contract, representing the buyer or seller, getting title cleared, coordinating closing, coordinating, things like that. It's not just the agent. A deal goes best when we all work together, but separately in our lanes.
love it. I love that's super valuable. I'm sure all the agents out there listening, I'm hoping they can take that piece of advice and really focus on what you're best at, your expertise, and let everyone else in the because pretty much when you're either a seller or a buyer's agent, I feel like you pretty much build your own little team, right? If you're helping your buyer, you kind of have your team of a title company, of inspectors, of financing. If you're the seller, same thing. If seller's agent, the same thing. So it's kind of, if you are building this team, right? And it's kind of like, hey, use that team that you have built. That's why you're at the end of the day, you're trying to, help either the buyer or the seller accomplish a goal, most efficient possible and without, getting in trouble and making all these mistakes. So I
And
totally agree.
yeah, it's interesting because the team thing, the real, we all say, oh, Tobin and team, or, Hans and team. But the truth is that the value in a team, is really getting to know each other, being able to pick up the phone. Me, when I see a contract on the Hans and I have a question, I can call your cell right away. I can get you. I see
Right.
it's you, I pick up, and that to me is one of the big values. Whereas, on a deal where you've never worked with someone, you have to kind of, maybe just be a little more circumspect in your initial dealings because you don't know them and you don't really want to upset anything.
Right. I see that happen. I've gone through that. I see that happen a lot because sometimes, especially when I was a newer agent, especially with all this verbiage and the contracts, like making addendums or exactly what, still to this day, I'm sure it happens to even seasoned agents, like, what exactly goes on that addendum? What exactly goes on that, additional terms? Like, what is the exact verbiage? Because if things do go wrong, you want to make sure, because sometimes being specific is like, it's everything. And if you're not specific, right? It's like let's say the house will be painted. You weren't specific, so they just painted I don't know, a
Each
little,
room.
like, right. So like, those little things. So I totally agree with, hopefully little by, with time, the agents could start building that team with your attorneys and the title companies and everyone, and kind of get that trust and, be able to either text or call and really get that answer quickly, so you don't make the mistake and you don't just, I don't really have anyone helping me, I'm just going to send it. So definitely that's something that, hopefully everyone could get to and kind of start building that trust with their team, like we're speaking about, because it's super, super important.
For
Appreciate
sure.
that. All right, so tell us a little bit about let's get into title insurance and what agents should know. This is something that I've never heard any agent really ask about. I never heard this on a podcast or on YouTube. I've never really heard this. I know you have a lot of expertise in this. So tell us a little bit about title insurance and what us as agents should really know, at least the basics about it.
Okay. I have done a YouTube talk on it, and it's important to know, and it's pretty basic. It's really this. If you think about what a seller's main obligation is under a contract, it's to sell property. It's to transfer title.
Right.
But it's specifically a seller's obligation to transfer good and marketable title. That's it. If you keep it just to that, understanding that the seller's core obligation is to transfer good and marketable title, the good and marketable means that I can take that title and I can sell it the next day. I can take that title from a closing on a purchase and I can go out and get a mortgage the next day. Right. Good and marketable means standards that the title world accepts. So how do we determine that? We determine that through a title insurance commitment that someone like me, an attorney or a non-attorney title agent, as an agent for an underwriter, just like a car insurance, health insurance, I'm the agent, I'm the car insurance guy, and I'm turning around and I'm going to Geico. I'm the Geico agent. Right. So I'm an agent for several large underwriters, public companies, First American, Old Republic, right. Chicago. And I used to examine the title myself through an abstract, but now we don't need to do that anymore. We order up with technology a product. Right. So you send me a closing, condominium on Miami Beach. I then order a title insurance commitment, which is just like a car insurance binder. That commitment I send to the seller and their attorney. It says exactly what the seller must do to convey good and marketable title. Do they have a mortgage? Okay, it must be satisfied. Have they just gotten divorced? Okay, what does the marital settlement agreement say about title? The husband or wife gets it. Do they have a judgment entered against them? Or do they have a common name where there's a judgment entered against the same name? Okay, they need to satisfy it or give me a non-identity. Have they done work on the property and recorded a notice of commencement? If so, that's got to be addressed. So title insurance is the insurance policy to the buyer and the lender when there's a mortgage, that the buyer has good title, that the lender has good title, good and marketable title. Right. And that if anyone after the closing contests or makes a claim against the title of the buyer or the lender, because they have the mortgage, right, then that insurance policy kicks in and it covers the buyer or the lender and pays for an attorney to defend. And if the attorney and the underwriter can't resolve the claim on the title, they then pay up to the cost of the purchase price, the buyer, to cure the title, or they pay the lender. So it's a one-time insurance policy. Perfect. Ensuring the buyer and the lender that they have good title to their deed and their mortgage.
Right, I love it. So pretty much, first of all, going back to the what I mentioned about, I didn't find these things on YouTube. It's like there's not too much information.
You're not looking in the right places.
You have to be specific. But for those of you that are listening, Michael Tobin does have his YouTube channel that he just started a few months ago. You can find them on YouTube. Tobin Talks. You can find them, search them. He's given a lot of super valuable information, little tips like this that are gonna help you become a way better real estate agent. Okay, so Michael, so going back to the title insurance, awesome. So pretty much, so as a buyer, once I get that title insurance, it's like pretty much I'm almost worry free, because if there is anything that does come up, anything comes up, it's like, hey, you gave me this, you gave me it's insured, you told me it was okay, yeah, you take care of it, right? So that's super valuable for any buyer to like not really worry. And it's something that sometimes I do get these type of questions from buyers, like they've heard of bad experiences, or they've heard of like some types of frauds and things like this. But usually when they're working with a trustable reputable, attorney and title company, then it should all be fine, right? Like we're in the United States, like everything is like by law, everything that we're right.
Yeah, I mean, stuff happens. I
Things
would,
happen.
things happen. And whether it's intentional and it's fraud or it's unintentional and it's a mistake, that's exactly right. It's the peace of mind of knowing you have that. And the lender requires it. So, let's
Right.
be honest, the lender's putting more money into that deal than the
Right.
buyer is,
Correct.
right? Usually
Like
4 to 1,
right.
in terms of dollars. So they require it.
Right.
And
Right.
and like you said, that's the attorney's job, that's the title company's job. Now, there are times where a deal can fail
Because
because
of that.
title issues can, of course, you hope
Hmm.
not to have it, but the contract has a provision that gives the seller, I think in the FAR bar it's 90 days, but the seller automatically has an extra period after the contract closing date
Uh-huh.
to cure title. So if you're the buyer and you're buying a property that has a major title defect, you
Okay.
can't necessarily just walk from it on the closing date if they can't close. They have the
Ah,
right. They have the right, the seller, to cure
okay.
title.
Okay, that's super interesting. I'm sure a lot of agents don't know that. Cool. So just to rephrase that, if there are some issues found and you're after all the inspection periods, like you have to pretty much close almost at closing, and they still cannot fix its issues. The buyer cannot say, "Hey, never mind, I don't want it. I want to walk away." No, you cannot. Seller has 3 months, 90 days to fix those issues. If they do, you have to continue with the deal or lose the deposit, or you wait and they fix it and you continue with the deal. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, I'm not certain of the FAR, but I don't have one in front of me. But there are some buyers who are very savvy, who've been through this, and it's usually
Mm.
only them. And it can be negotiated one way or the other. Let's say you're a listing agent and you know that there may be a title issue. Maybe there's an estate,
Uh-huh.
and the client, the son, the daughter of the deceased person, is slow moving in the probate process. A good listing agent could change that, knowing before the contract that they may need more time, and they can change that box just like you could an inspection or
Right.
appraisal and give your seller more time.
Wow, that's awesome. Interesting. Wow. That's a big nugget right there that you just dropped. So let me ask you this. So as a listing agent, you know, what can I do in order, like what kind of questions can I ask my seller? Because some things are a little bit, I'm not sure if they're too personal. I'm not sure how to really go. It's like, hey, do you have a clean title on the home? I'm not sure if that's a normal question, or you get what I'm saying? Like I've never asked any of my clients, hey, is the title clean? I just,
It's a great question, Hans. It's a great question. And the truth is, there's a lot you can do. The more experienced you get as a listing agent,
hmm
the more you'll recognize the things that can come up. But
right,
the easy thing you can do is you can ask your seller for a copy of their prior title policy from when they bought the property. That's a huge step, number one. You can also ask them how many mortgages, which I think a lot of agents, in these listing presentations, they ask. But, do you have a mortgage? Do you have one? Do you have two? Do you have an equity line? If you know they're recently divorced and title was in both names, the title agent is always going to need the marital settlement agreement. If there's FERPTA, if you know that the seller's foreign, there's so many
right,
things a good listing agent can troubleshoot at contract or really at listing, you know,
right.
and you can say, hey, is there anything else that may come up title that you want to tell me about? I've
Perfect.
I've had a lot of agents in the last year say to me, hey, can you run a title search? I think there's something funky here. There was an estate, or there was, a divorce or a foreclosure. And if you're not sure, for $200, you can run a title search
Awesome.
yourself and have that search, even though it may not lead to a commitment. And you'll know before you go to contract, before the buyer's attorney sends you the title. So if you're
That is
really
awesome.
unsure, super cheap to order a
That's
title
so
search.
awesome. What you just perfect. That I just learned a lot from that. So pretty much, in that presentation, when you're speaking to the seller, as at least those little detailed, those questions are common questions, right? For like if they're foreign or not. You can tell if they're divorce, estate, probate. If there's been those type of things with the title, that I'm sure you could have to like come up. If you have any questions, speak to your title company attorney, and kind of
Yeah.
start knowing from the beginning. I love that.
The other thing, Hans, is there's so much information a listing agent can get from the tax roll. So if you go to the tax roll of the property and it says one name and you're dealing with another person,
Right.
that's a tip right there.
Right.
So tie that in, look at the prior deed, click through, it's easy to click through,
Right.
but there's a lot of info out there.
Okay, awesome, amazing. Let's talk about homestead. Let's talk about homestead for the new agents. A lot of new agents that don't really understand. I just now like really finished learning exactly all about it. There's a lot of agents out there that may not know, and this helps a lot with your buyers, right? It's just gonna make you a little bit. It's gonna make you like that extra level to your buyers. Like, wow, they really care. Like, my agent really cares about me. He just told me about filing for exemption, this and that. So tell us a little bit about that, Michael, and us as agents, buyers agents in this case. When we should talk to them about it, like just everything that you can tell us.
You're absolutely right, Hans. Knowing about homestead will get you real value with a buyer. So Florida has the best homestead benefits of any state, bar none. Okay, by far. We have the perception, or had many years ago, that we were a debtor state, that people who owed money would come here, buy a home because they knew they'd be free from debt and creditors.
Mm-hmm.
The homestead law has three benefits to it. Number one is taxation. If it's your homestead and you file a homestead application with the county property appraiser, your taxes automatically, your assessed value, which is what your taxes are based on, automatically goes down $50,000. We're going to vote in November for a constitutional amendment that will raise it to $75,000.
Wow, awesome.
It started at 20, 50 was 3-4 years ago, and it's going to go to 75. So
Amazing.
$75,000 is $1,500 in taxes at 2%.
Amazing.
Even better, your tax bill will never really go up because your assessed value can only go up at most 3% per year. That means your taxes probably go up 1% or 0.75%. So as a homesteader, you get a reduction in your taxes and your tax bill stays the same. The law is actually called Save Our Homes because it was intended so that the little old lady on a fixed income with no mortgage wouldn't have to move because her taxes keep going up exponentially. So that's number one. Number two, creditor protection. If you get in a car accident, God forbid, and you cause damage, if you get in a lawsuit and you cause damage and you have a judgment entered against you, if it's your homestead, the judgment creditor who has a judgment against you can't touch your home because our Constitution protects homestead from forced sale. So the only people who can take your home are the mortgage company that financed it.
Right. Because they're first on the online, right?
Without them, you wouldn't have owned it. The government for taxes.
Okay.
And a contractor who added value. So
right.
The house painter, the contractor, the roofer, those are the only three people who can touch your home in homestead. The last benefit is what we call devise and descent. It automatically goes to your heirs without having to go through the probate, and your heirs inherit the property free of creditor claims.
That's amazing.
So
That's great. That's super great, valuable information. I mean, imagine you sharing this with your buyers, right? They're gonna be like stunned, like, oh my God, like I did not know that. Thank you so much. Like, right.
yeah, and occasionally we have buyers. It just happened yesterday. Client calls me, sends me a contract buying a house, single family house in North Miami Beach. I look at it and the buyer's a company name. And I said, oh, are you going to fix this up or flip it or rent it? No, no, we're going to live there. You cannot get homestead if it's in a company name.
Gotcha.
So immediately an agent should know right away if they're a buyer's agent. Never put the contract or title in a company name. You're just not eligible for homestead. It has to be in an individual. And you can only have one.
Right. You can only have one homestead. So if you know your buyers are going to be living there and they're going to be homesteading and they want to put it on their LLC name, speak to them, speak to the attorneys, let them at least, let them know what they're losing out on. Let me ask you this, Michael. Is this homestead, like you said, that's one of the best in the country, or those three things?
Not one of,
Florida,
not one of, the
yeah,
best.
that's mind blowing. Thank God we're in Florida. So are those three things pertain to Florida and not nationwide?
Just Florida. Just Florida.
Wow.
This is all in the Florida Constitution. We have a state constitution just like a federal constitution. The state constitution for
That's
over
amazing.
100 years has protected homestead. It's a public policy,
That's
and it's
amazing.
why the government as well and your industry promote home ownership. The country feels home ownership provides for stability, and it's
Absolutely.
all based on that.
Absolutely. And I'm super excited about what you just mentioned in November for that, hopefully that new bill come out where the homestead is going to be 75,000 because that's going to be saving them almost, I don't know, like $50, $100 a month extra. So what does that mean for a buyer? That means extra buying power, right? So let's say you're approved for 300,000. Now you may be approved for 320. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out there, but that's
You're
really
right.
what it means. Or it means that instead of your monthly payments being 1,500, now they're going to be 1,400. So that means more people may be able to qualify either for a bigger home or maybe for. So that's so much. That's amazing. Especially in that mid-range price point here in South Florida, which is like 350. So that's super valuable.
100%. And there's other smaller exemptions. There's a widow exemption. There's veteran exemptions. They're not the same dollar amount, but the local government gives tons of benefits. But like with a lot of things, you have to know them and understand to go get them. They're not going to give them to you. You have to apply for them.
Right, right. I understand. And for those agents that are listening, and if this is all new to you, as with Homestead, they can apply starting, like Michael said, in November. You said, Michael? In November, and it kicks in starting January. So it's all calendar year starting January 1st. So again, let your clients know. Let your clients know. Remind them. It's gonna be super valuable because if not, their taxes are gonna jump up a lot. So let them make sure they're homesteading. Awesome, awesome, Michael. So to finish this off, is there any other tips before we go into the fun questions, Michael? Any other tips for agents? Any other valuable information that you want to share?
Um, just that there's a lot of resources out there, and you just got to learn where to find them little by little. I think for young agents, it's overwhelming. You know, everything you got to do. You got to learn, you know, how to sell. You got to learn the forms. You got to learn how to show. You got to learn how to close. You know,
Yeah.
I, I I can't help you with a lot of those things, but I can tell you that from the contract side, the title side, there's plenty of people out there to go to for resources. It's a good industry in Miami. It's a huge industry, real estate. And we're all, you know, nobody's, retiring on one deal. We're all pretty much in this for the long term. It's very based on relationships.
Yeah.
Attorneys work together. We know each other well. Agents do, and I think, it's really nice, the real estate community. It is a real community. And, oh yeah, you have some bad apples, but for the most part, it's a great industry, and, it can be overwhelming, but just stay with it.
I love that. I love that. Be consistent. Stay with it. Ask questions. Check out Michael's YouTube. Tobin Talks. You can reach out to him. He's always there. Him and his team. They're super great. They're located on Biscayne in North Miami. So if you're around that area, they'll be more than happy anywhere, really anywhere in South Florida, right? Nowadays we're working remote,
Absolutely.
Michael. You don't need to be there physically. So Michael, let's get into some fun questions before we finish this off. Let's see what I got for you, Michael. What's the best place that you've ever been to?
Best place I've ever been. I would have to say Israel because I met my wife there. So
Beautiful.
I would say
Tel
Israel, where I
Aviv,
met
Tel
my
Aviv,
wife.
or where?
Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. Uh,
That's
I would say because I met her there, I would have to go with Israel.
that's beautiful. Yeah, I hear Israel is gorgeous. I hear a lot of people talk about how beautiful it is. Let's see.
It's a great tourist spot. It's got the beaches, it's got the mountains, it's got history, it's got fun, adventure. It is a great place.
And such a little place too, right? Such a little
Tiny.
place with
It's the
such a big
size of probably, Maine or Rhode Island, small state in the U.S.
Miami, the size of Miami-Dade. I don't know.
In people, yeah.
Michael, let's see. If you could be a spokesperson, not Michael Tobin, but another brand. If you could be a spokesperson for any brand, what brand would you go with?
Oh God. I'm a big sports music fan. I think, maybe something in the live music field or the sports field. I've always, I wanted to be a sports attorney at first and an agent. And I'm kind of glad I didn't because I think I'd be jaded, but I love the business aspects of sports, and I love the communal aspects of music and live music. So maybe something, maybe spokesman for one of those industries somehow.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I can totally relate. I actually went to school for music, so music is in my heart, and I play sports, my whole life. So definitely, I agree with you. It's a little bit more, it's different than real estate, right? but
Oh yeah.
But here in real estate,
But you
we're
can,
helping people build wealth and build a great life for future, and sports and music might be a little bit more like in the moment, kind of.
and as far as sports goes, I think you can and have an analogy to anything sports. I mean, there's strategy in real estate that you learn from sports. There's an old blues song that I love, "Never make your move too soon." There's so many music and sports lines and expressions that relate to business and specifically real estate.
I love that. I mean, and I totally agree, Michael. I mean, I feel like, I've been in real estate for 4 years, and I feel like real estate is like, it is life, because everything that you learn in life is like you can apply it, and vice versa. You could, everything you do in real estate, you could apply it to life, because like you just say, you have so much different things. I don't want to get into it, but there's so much. It's not just an industry where it's like one little thing. There's so much, from learning how to speak the right words to use, to your tone of voice, learning how
Just
to
when
deal
you
with people. It's
just when you think just when you think you got a handle on it, something hits you, that you've never seen. And yeah, it is it's more fun than people would think it is.
Absolutely. Michael, it's been great having you. Thank you so much. For those of you that want to reach out to Michael and find him, again, you can check out his YouTube channel at Tobin Talks. You can find him on Facebook, Michael Tobin, Instagram, Michael Tobin. You could Google him, Michael Tobin, his phone number, everything is there. You can reach out. He'll be more than happy to take care of you, any deals, any questions you may have. Michael, thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us, and the bombs that you dropped today. Super knowledgeable, super valuable tips for all kinds of agents, new and seasoned. So again, thank you so much.
It was a lot of fun, Hans. You're a great guy. I appreciate it very much. I wish you the best.
All right, Michael. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay.